Today we are going to look at a very interesting topic, human reproduction. This chapter has got a lot. You can see all the branches that we have on human reproduction. However, our main focus will be on menstrual cycle. So we're not going to do all the others, but you are supposed to know them. This is our lesson map of the menstrual cycle. So basically, these are the indicators that we are going to engage and deliberate on. Lesson objectives. By the end of this lesson, we should be able to understand the process occurring in the uterus and ovary, and we should be able to link changes in hormones to changes in ovary and uterus. You link the two. And we should be able to predict the effect of hormone imbalances and hormone treatment. These are the objectives. Keep them at the back of your mind. These are the keywords that you are supposed to know. I am not going to say much about them because we'll engage with them as we carry on, but you need to know the keywords and you also need to know the definitions. The common errors that we normally see or the misconceptions is a lot, but let me just highlight some of the errors that we will address as we carry on with our lesson today. So, in most instances, learners cannot interpret unseen graphs of hormones, hormonal changes or hormone changes and link to real life. They are unable to link theory done in class to new and unfamiliar situations, and they will not be able to link changes in hormone level to events in ovary and uterus. Negative feedback mechanism between pituitary gland and ovary. Even the other ones that are outlined here, they are important, but I have underlined some of the leading ones. Here are the exam writing competencies. You've got these factors that you need to look at as you answer your examination, because if you know them, you will be able to get it right with your examination writing. On that note, let's quickly go to our ad break. See you soon. Welcome back, learners. I hope you freshened up because we are going to remove all the street misconceptions about human reproduction, especially on the menstrual cycle. We are going to look at the aim of the female reproductive system. We will also look at the events in the ovary. Check this out, ovarian cycle. And we will also check the events in the uterus menstrual cycle. We will also look at the control by the pituitary gland. This is a gland. And control of all aspects of menstrual cycle. And in close, we are going to look at the effect of changes in hormone levels. Keep an eye. It is going to be interesting. Generally, the problem with this chapter is that learners will struggle to understand the relationship between the organs and hormones and the inability to link the reproductive problems to hormonal control. So the challenges that we have here is that the sequence of events that are there in the ovary and uterus, learners tend to confuse or they don't understand. And linking the hormones thereof together with the negative feedback mechanism. And knowledge that we are supposed to apply on any given scenario which is new to us or unfamiliar in the examination setup. What is the aim of the female reproductive system? One aim is to produce an egg. I'm circling the egg because avoid speaking more about the egg as much as we use it for you to understand that we are basically looking at the production of the ovum, which can be fertilized. And this process happens in the ovary. The second one is to ensure if the egg is fertilized, the embryo gets enough food to develop properly. And this happens where? In the uterus. And these events need to be coordinated. Ovary, uterus, they must work together. There's a proper coordination in this series of events. They need to be properly coordinated. So if an egg is fertilized, we can even say if an ovum is fertilized, let's use ovum more than egg, the uterus is ready to feed it. And this is done by the pituitary gland. To control this, there are two sets of hormones. These hormones, one set is produced by the pituitary gland, and the other set is produced in the ovary. Therefore, we have got names of hormones that are produced by the pituitary gland, which is FSH and LH, and we've got hormones that are produced in the ovaries. Estrogen, please check the spelling. Learners always have a problem of swapping the first E and O. Estrogen, which is produced by the Graafian follicle in the ovaries, and progesterone, which is produced by the corpus luteum in the ovary. This diagram. This will outline the whole system for us with ease. Now, if we look at this diagram, it's showing us the entire ovary. This is the ovary. And maybe in brief, I'll speak more later. The ovary is showing us the follicles that are developing. Then we've got our Graafian follicle. I'll speak more of that. We've got corpus luteum that I mentioned earlier on. So you will mark FSH and LH. Remember, they are pituitary gland hormones. We'll speak more about that. Let's have a look at this. This diagram here is showing us two hormones, progesterone and estrogen. They are produced where? In the ovary. And if you check this graph, it shows you a follicle. This is an event that is happening in the ovary. A follicle which starts to grow. You can see the growth of the follicle. And as it grows, this follicle here forms the Graafian follicle that I spoke about earlier on. And estrogen is secreted now by this follicle, the Graafian follicle. And you can see we've got the process of ovulation. I hope you know ovulation, the release of the ripe ovum from the Graafian follicle. And we've got, after Graafian follicle ruptured, we've got corpus luteum. This is corpus luteum. And interesting enough, corpus luteum now secretes progesterone hormone. And the two hormones, they are ovarian hormones. Let us speak about negative feedback mechanism. This is also addressed in endocrine system. Hence, we've got the mention of thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is irrelevant to reproduction as a chapter, but the link is the negative feedback mechanism. So generally, when you speak about negative feedback mechanism, this happens when there's an increase in one hormone, which causes a decrease in another. And this leads to the restoration to normality or balance. Hence, we always speak about homeostasis, maintenance of constant internal environment. Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland has got hormones that are in charge. Let us quickly have a look at our pituitary gland, which controls the menstrual cycle. More complex because more hormones are involved. We know pituitary gland is also called master gland. Don't mention master gland as you answer. But because pituitary gland has got a lot of secretions that will influence different parts of the body for different functions. If we look at bullet number 3, an increase in one can cause an increase in another. E.g., FSH causes follicle development, which causes an increase in estrogen. Let's look at the link. So if the follicle is growing, FSH secreted by the pituitary gland will influence the development of the follicle. Once the follicle grows to become Graafian follicle, there we go, that's our Graafian follicle, then estrogen now is starting to be produced. You can see the link that is taking place. Negative feedback mechanism occurs when an increase in estrogen lessens or inhibits FSH production. We'll see that soon with some of the graphs. Let's check this graph quickly. So we've got pituitary gland, which is also called the hypophysis. It secretes FSH and LH. And look, as FSH is secreted, the follicle is growing. It's becoming bigger. But as the follicle starts to grow, you can see now ovarian hormone, estrogen, starts to increase. Why? Because this follicle now is growing up and is secreting estrogen hormone. And you can see the link that LH, also a pituitary gland hormone, it's taking its peak somewhere along the way when ovulation takes place. This is now rupturing. The Graafian follicle is rupturing. Hence, we spoke about the process of ovulation. This is the whole summary of the hormones. You need to know them. So we've got FSH, good people. We've got estrogen hormone. We've got, let me see, where is LH? We've got LH. And we've got progesterone. Key or very crucial for us to remember. You need to know where each hormone is secreted. FSH, produced by pituitary gland. What is the function? Stimulates development of follicle. Then we've got the follicle, which is Graafian, secretes estrogen. What is the function? It causes endometrium to thicken. Then we've got LH. And what is the function? Two functions for LH: stimulates ovulation and also stimulates the development of corpus luteum. And then we've got progesterone hormone, which is secreted now by the corpus luteum. And progesterone, what is the function? It further thickens the endometrium. So you will understand that if fertilization does not occur, corpus luteum will shrink. You look at the diagram that we have here, the graph, you can see the size of the corpus luteum. It shrunk. So there is no fertilization because there's no reason to have progesterone further secreted. And allowing the endometrium to break down, you can see the endometrium broke down now, and then this female is now undergoing menstruation. And again, the process starts. FSH starts to peak, and you can see there is now follicle that is starting to develop again. Let us go for our ad break. We still have more interesting stuff coming. See you soon. Welcome back from the ad break. We have got more information to absorb, and we will answer questions in high standards. Let us look at pregnancy. So when a woman is pregnant, progesterone level stays high, so no new follicle develops. This relates to negative feedback mechanism. So the higher the progesterone, the lower the FSH. FSH which influences the development of the new follicles. Now, when we speak about the contraceptive pill, somebody out there will be thinking, Mrs. Vuma, are we talking about contraceptives? They have got a link on the functioning of hormones. So if somebody is taking a contraceptive pill, this is just an example, the pill will contain estrogen or progesterone. And the presence of estrogen and progesterone will inhibit means stop or lessen FSH production. So no follicle starts to develop. Can I give you something to ponder? If a woman is pregnant, there must not be new follicles formed, because it means she can be pregnant for 4 months, and can she be pregnant again for a week? So the moment the woman is pregnant, no follicles should form. Therefore, we do not have the production of FSH. When we speak about infertility, check this out. The women that struggle to fall pregnant, there might be other causes of infertility. But if this has to do with the hormonal imbalances, this woman can be given FSH to stimulate follicle development. So when they are given FSH, it means that follicles can develop faster, or more follicles can be formed, and this woman will be able to experience fertilization. We've got an example question. 2.2. The diagram below shows some of the changes that take place during menstrual cycle. I want us to check this. So we've got our follicles. We have discussed this. That's the Graafian follicle. This is now the ruptured Graafian follicle. And we've got our corpus luteum. We also have got the thickening of the endometrium. You can see that endometrium is thickened and this is maintained. We also have got the days from day 1 up to day 28 of our menstrual cycle. 2.1. The menstrual cycle is controlled by hormones. Name one hormone which will increase in level between day 2 and day 10. So you check your diagram. Here's day 1, between day 2 and day 10. We want you to give us one hormone that will increase in level. The hormone that will increase in level is FSH or estrogen. It's 1 mark. Why are we saying FSH? You can see that from day 2, the follicle is growing bigger and bigger. And as it grows bigger, remember, Graafian follicle secretes estrogen. The 2 hormones are likely to increase. 2.2.2, give one observable reason for your answer in question 2.1. Something that you can see. The Graafian follicle develops during the period stimulated by the increase in FSH. You can see the growth as per indication earlier on. Or you can even speak about the lining of the endometrium. The endometrium is the inner lining of the uterus. So you can see that the lining of the endometrium thickens during this period stimulated by increase in levels of estrogen. You can see that the lining, this is the endometrium, it's thickening by the influence of progesterone. Look at the link. We have got the follicle growing under the influence of FSH, and we've got the endometrium thickening through the influence of estrogen secreted by the Graafian follicle. This is interesting, isn't it? 2.3. Explain evidence from the diagram which indicates that fertilization took place. So it means that there have been a release of this ripe ovum, and there was a fusion between the sperm, and I said we need to speak more of the ovum. We're avoiding the use of the word egg. So, and then fertilization had occurred. You explain the evidence. This is for 3 marks. Corpus luteum has not disintegrated. This is corpus luteum. You can see it's maintaining its size. It's not shrinking and becoming smaller. And it continues to secrete progesterone. Remember, corpus luteum secretes progesterone. So when it is maintained, it continues to secrete progesterone. So the endometrial lining remains thickened. In other words, there is no shedding off of this lining. That is why we mentioned earlier on that one key function of progesterone is to further thicken the endometrium. Estrogen secreted by Graafian follicle thickens the endometrium. But when progesterone is secreted and pregnancy has occurred, it must further thicken the endometrium. And the purpose is to maintain pregnancy. 224, describe the developmental changes in the fertilized ovum until implantation occurs in the uterus. We all know uterus is the womb, but in life sciences we speak of the uterus. After fertilization, we know that the zygote is formed, which is represented by 2N, meaning that it has got now diploid number of chromosomes. So it undergoes mitosis. Remember mitosis? This is again grade 10 work. So the zygote starts to undergo the process of mitosis until a ball of cells called morula is formed. Not marula, but morula. So in other words, if we've got a zygote, it will start to form a ball of cells called morula, which divides, this is on the way, which divides to form a blastocyst. Blastocyst. Be careful, you cannot speak about blastocyte. This is incorrect. I can safely put this wrong. Blastocyte is incorrect. Blastocyst, because blastocytes are the cells that are found on the blastocyst. So it will divide to form a blastocyst, and it was on the way. The blastocyst forms chorionic villi or attachment villi, which will now make the zygote to attach to the endometrium. Endometrium is the lining of the uterus. And I just want to also highlight this. If we speak about implantation, implantation is that time of gestation when the embryo attaches to the actual endometrium. Question 225, some females use ovulation monitors so that they can be aware of the days when they are fertile. These monitors measure the level of hormones in the blood. A, why would females want to know when they are fertile? Why should they know? Why? What is the reason? Somebody is guessing it, I know. One reason is to know when they can get pregnant. So if they are preparing to get pregnant, they can use the monitor to check the right timing during ovulation, because that's when now the ripe ovum is waiting to be fertilized by the fallopian tubes. Or they can use it for family planning. If they don't want to fall pregnant, they can now start saying, you know what, I'm going to use my monitor to check those days that I must avoid indulging in unprotected sexual activities, because chances are that I am likely to fall pregnant. Question number B, explain which hormone is likely to be monitored by the ovulation monitor and why. All these three hormones, LH, FSH, and estrogen. And the reasons are, there's a rise in levels of LH, FSH, and estrogen around the time of ovulation, when the ripe ovum is about to be released from the Graafian follicle. LH is at its peak. And estrogen also, because it is secreted, the endometrium is being prepared. So it is thickened, and we can see the rise on that. And these are the three hormones that can be monitored. May 2019, paper 1, Question 1.5. The diagram below represents an endocrine gland A, the events that take place in the ovary during the menstrual cycle in humans. Remember, when you see any diagram, you don't take it for granted. Familiarize yourself with the diagram so that you are able to answer the questions that will follow. 151. Identify gland A for 1 mark. Here is gland A. You need to identify this gland. And it's obviously pituitary gland. It has got another name that is also accepted. It's hypophysis. I mentioned to you as well. You also need to identify structure B. Here is structure B. So you check the structure and you check the label. You identify that, and that is our Graafian follicle. Check the spelling. Normally, learners have got a problem with spelling, and they make a lot of spelling errors. Question number C. You identify process C. So you see, when you are identifying labels, it's just labels, but process, you cannot now come and tell us this is a ruptured Graafian follicle, because the question is on the process itself that is taking place. And let's see, the process there is ovulation. The ripe ovum is being released, and D, structure D, yes, structure D, and that is corpus luteum. 1.5.2, state the effect on the estrogen levels in the blood if gland A stops secreting FSH. Now we're talking about 2 hormones here, estrogen and FSH. So it means that the question is, state the effect on estrogen levels in the blood if gland A stops secreting FSH. So if we don't have FSH here, what will happen? It will remain low, or it is going to decrease. Both answers are acceptable. Although I gave 2 ticks, I'm just indicating that you can get marks for both. 153, state one function of LH. LH has got 2 functions. We're looking at one. It stimulates ovulation. That's a mark. Or you can see a slash. It stimulates the development of corpus luteum. You can even say for ovulation, you can say it stimulates the release of ripe ovum from the ruptured Graafian follicle. It can also be given as an optional answer for ovulation. Question 2.1. The graph alongside shows the concentration of progesterone in a woman's blood during the early stages of pregnancy. So check the trend of your bars. You can see there's an increase on your bars. 2.1.1. Name 2 structures responsible for producing progesterone during pregnancy. Yes, we spoke about one, but I know you have learned about these, so you know the other one. Let's look at them. One structure is corpus luteum and also placenta. So when a woman is pregnant, the progesterone that is secreted by corpus luteum is not sufficient. That is why when the placenta is formed, it now helps out to produce progesterone so that pregnancy is maintained until time for delivery or giving birth. 2.1.2. State the general trend in the change in progesterone levels in the woman's blood during the early stages of pregnancy. So you are going to state it's only 1 mark. You look at the trend of progesterone levels. When you are given a graph, relate, speak to the graph, interrogate the graph, check the question, see what the question is asking you. And the trend that we see here on the progesterone is increasing. You can see that from this first bar here, there is an increase in progesterone levels. So that is the trend. 213, describe the negative feedback mechanism that occurs between progesterone and FSH during pregnancy. Negative feedback mechanism, they work opposite each other. When there's a peak on this one hormone, there will be a drop on the other one. So the rise in one hormone will inhibit the production of the other hormone. High levels of progesterone inhibit FSH production. I want you to also get used to the language in the subject. To inhibit means stopping. So when we've got high progesterone level, we'll have the inhibition of FSH production, so that we don't have a contradiction of a pregnant woman and also the formation of new follicles. Question 214, state the importance of negative feedback mechanism described in question 213. What is the importance? It prevents the development of new follicle. Question 215, calculate the percentage increase in the progesterone level between week 4 and week 14. Week 4 and week 14, show all calculations for 3 marks. That's where your mathematical numerical information is coming through. So in order to get the percentage increase, you are going to look at our new value. Here's the new value here on the graph, which is 39.5. We subtract our new value with our original old value, which is 21.6, equals 17.9. This is now the difference. But we are not looking at the difference. Therefore, we take 17.9 as the answer after the subtraction. We now divide it by 21.6. We divide it by 21.6, and which is now going to be multiplied by 100. And 21.6 is our initial, our old value. Multiply by 100, and our answer is going to be 82.87%. As much as we are free to do the conversions through the decimals and stuff, I would advise you to keep your answer as is, because learners lose marks by confusing the conversions sometimes. 216, the woman's progesterone level in week 16 was 25. And then A, explain why this woman should be concerned about the decrease in progesterone level. 2 marks. Endometrium will not be maintained, so she will have a miscarriage. If the levels, you see, if we say we've got week 14, it was 39.5. So if we go further, and then by week 16, we find that there's a drop because this was 39. Then the progesterone level starts to drop. We start to worry because there's no maintenance of the endometrium. Therefore, we are likely to have a miscarriage. B, suggest one way in which the problem could possibly be treated by a doctor. I was too quick to give you an answer, but I said I'm retracting. So let us have a look at the answer here. There must be a prescription of progesterone tablets because they are going to supplement what is naturally missing in a female body. On that note, we are going for our ad break. Welcome back, learners. We are still busy with practice questions for our menstrual cycle. Let us look at November 2022, paper 1, question 2.3. The graph alongside shows the levels of 2 hormones that are secreted by the pituitary gland during the menstrual cycle. We've got hormone A and hormone B. Don't forget, you must always come and familiarize yourself with a diagram or a graph or a table. Whatever data that is provided on the question, you need to be familiar with. First question 231, state two functions of hormone B. You must be able to know this hormone before you know the function. And a clue that you can use is you check as this cycle is moving on, you can see this hormone B is spiking, it's reaching its peak somewhere around day 14. And something happens on day 14, you know ovulation. I'm just giving you clues, I'm not giving you an answer. So, hormone B stimulates ovulation, the release of the ripe ovum, and another function is it stimulates the development of corpus luteum. This is on the way. Anyway, it was an optional answer I was giving you. So we are good to go. So these are the two functions of hormone B. I need to check something with you quickly. By the way, you all know what this hormone B is. You cannot give it a wild guess. This is LH, hence the two functions. 232, explain why a female who is struggling to get pregnant, A, may be given pills containing hormone A as a treatment. So this is hormone A as a treatment. You need to do what? To explain. You need to explain. A, FSH will stimulate follicle development, so she will ovulate, increasing chance of pregnancy. So in other words, when this hormone is increasing, the follicles will be forming, and then there is a higher chance of fertilization, hence pregnancy. B, you also now explain what will have her levels of hormone B constantly monitored. So we're talking about the female struggling to fall pregnant. And the question is, why this woman that is struggling to fall pregnant will have levels of hormone B constantly monitored for 2 marks? Because when hormone B peaks, when it reaches the peak, that's where ovulation occurs, the release of the ripe ovum. It occurs here, meaning that it will be awaiting the sperm cell for fertilization. 233, explain how the levels of hormone A on days 0 to 5 will differ in a pregnant female. What do you check here? You check hormone A. And days, you come to your graph, you check, all right, I'm looking at day 0 up to day 5. So you're checking your hormone. The question says explain how the levels of hormone A on day 0 to 5 will differ if a woman is pregnant. You check it. By now you can see how hormone A was increasing. But if a woman is pregnant, what will be different? So level of A, which is now FSH. You can say A, or you can even say what it is. That is why there's a slash here. Will remain low because high progesterone levels inhibit FSH secretion. You are telling us that what is going to happen here, this hormone A will be, the secretion will be inhibited by high levels of progesterone. This woman is now pregnant. We spoke about corpus luteum and placenta. They will now maintain pregnancy by maintaining the thickness of the endometrium. Therefore, if pregnancy is maintained, if progesterone is at its peak, it means FSH, at the other hand, will be inhibited because we don't want a formation of new follicles. November 2023, paper 1, read the extract below. Ovarian cyst in females. Ovarian cysts are fluid-filled structures that develop inside the ovaries of some women. The two most common types of cysts in women of reproductive age are follicular cysts and corpus luteum cysts. Follicular cysts develop when a Graafian follicle fails to rupture and release the ovum. The follicle continues to grow because of continued hormonal stimulation. A corpus luteum cyst develops when the corpus luteum does not degenerate, even when a person is not pregnant. Women often show no symptoms and the cysts disappear. But in rare cases, ovarian cysts keep on increasing in size. A very large cyst can cause intense pain and may rupture, leading to internal bleeding. Such cysts will require surgical movement. Such a fleshy story. You read and you start to understand, okay, we're talking about follicular cysts here, we're talking about ovarian cysts. What is happening between the two? 231. From the extract, give two structures in the ovary that may develop into cysts. Two structures. We're not talking about the cysts, but the structures. One is Graafian follicle, and the other one is corpus luteum. B, you give two symptoms associated with very large cysts. If a person has got very large cysts, what are the symptoms that you can see? They will experience intense pain, and they will also experience internal bleeding. How nice this answer is given. You can see it's intense pain, then after internal bleeding. Sometimes learners lose marks because they will write two answers on one line. Separate your answers nicely. It's easier for a marker to identify your answers. 232, name the hormone A responsible for the growth of follicle under normal condition. For 1 mark only. And that is FSH. We know. Under normal circumstances, FSH secreted by the pituitary gland will be secreted and the follicles can grow. B, that will be high in concentration in the blood of women when follicular cysts develop. Estrogen. Estrogen will be high as a hormone when a woman experiences follicular cysts. It means you must come here and relate to the fleshy story that you are given on the formation of the two different cysts. 233, give a reason for your answer to question 232B, the estrogen answer. Let us look at the reason. Graafian follicle keeps producing estrogen. So we are saying here, it's only for 1 mark. The reason why we are speaking about high concentration in the blood where follicular cysts will develop, estrogen will keep on being produced because the Graafian follicle does not reach a stage where it says, I am stopping to produce estrogen. 234. Explain why a woman will not be able to fall pregnant if she has a corpus luteum cyst that does not disappear. 5 marks explaining. You cannot lose these marks. 1 mark, corpus luteum does not degenerate and keeps producing progesterone, inhibits pituitary gland from secreting FSH, so no new follicle will develop, and no ovulation will occur. Therefore, this woman will not be able to fall pregnant because the body is lying. The body is saying, I'm pregnant, and this woman is not pregnant. November 2016, 2.2, a fertility monitor measures the concentration of estrogen and luteinizing hormone, LH, in a woman's urine. A fertile period is the time when the ovum is ready to be fertilized. The graph alongside appear on the information sheet that is provided with the fertility monitor. Again, You keep checking, you see we've got high fertility season, highest fertility, we've got estrogen, we've got LH, low fertility, hormone levels, and we've got day of the cycle. First question. 221. Name the gland that secretes LH. By now, everybody can say pituitary gland. We all know this. 222. Explain why the fertility monitor measures the concentration of LH. This is for 2 marks. High levels of LH stimulate ovulation, which is the time of the highest fertility. 223. Explain why some women would use fertility monitor for 2 marks. To monitor when they are fertile to increase chances of pregnancy. 224. What evidence in the graph indicates that a healthy follicle is developing in the ovary during the first half of the cycle? So you look at the first half of the cycle. This is 28 days. You look up to 14th day. In fact, we had another option for 223. Sorry about that. So women would use fertility monitor also to monitor when they are fertile so they can avoid pregnancy. We spoke about this earlier on. But now the answer for 224, what evidence in the graph indicates that a healthy follicle is developing in the ovary during the first half of the cycle? Estrogen levels are rising. 225, if a woman using the fertility monitor finds that her LH level peaks on day 17, between which days does she experience the highest fertility? So we're checking day 17 will be the peak of LH. So between day 16 and day 18. Because between these days, she's ovulation is taking place here. The ripe ovum is going to be released here. So between these days, that's her highest fertility season. 226. Explain why the fertility monitor does not measure the progesterone level in the blood to predict fertility days. This is an explaining question. Progesterone increases, that's 1 mark, after ovulation. So fertility period has passed. On that note, let's go for our ad break. We'll meet soon again. Coming back from our ad break, we are going to wrap up for today. So we have looked at our curriculum scope, but our main focus was on menstrual cycle. We have really looked at all these aspects that are mentioned here on the menstrual cycle. We have interrogated the terminology that is used in menstrual cycle. The definitions thereof, they were also outlined and explained as we carried on. And the common errors recap, misconceptions that we see, learners unable to interpret unseen graphs and hormone changes and links in real life, unable to link theory done in class to new and unfamiliar situations, unable to link changes in hormone levels to events in ovary and uterus, misunderstanding of negative feedback mechanism between pituitary and ovary, struggle to understand how hormones levels affect fertility, misunderstanding the link between pregnancy and hormone level, and the contraceptive pill, we know it links to hormones, unable to predict the effect of artificially altered setup in terms of helping the gaps and situation of the hormone levels in the blood. The good thing is that these common error misconceptions, we have dealt with them, we have unpacked them, we discussed them, so we are now finding our ground in terms of addressing them. Our exam writing competencies, remember, it is key for us to always remember your reading skill as you engage in that examination room. Do not panic, it's not necessary. Critical thinking skills, you've got ample time to critically analyze the question when you are given. Be mindful of the time management that you are given. Remember your basics in terms of numerical concepts and principles. You also need to communicate well with the question paper, engage with different questions on question paper. And on that note, remember to try this at home. Practice, practice, practice. It always makes it perfect. If you practice with this and more of other resources that you'll have, you cannot go wrong again with the menstrual cycle. It has been a very good session. Till we meet again. Bye-bye.